Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. For today's midweek meta deck, we are playing an undefeated Goblins list from Darius Brown from the 4SEASONS massive legacy tournament they have over there that happened just this weekend. So that's a tournament where they don't actually play out the top 8, they just have the Swiss rounds because it's the end of like a big long weekend of Magic. So this is one of the top 8 lists and it went undefeated in the Swiss. We've seen Goblins before on this channel. The build's kind of coalescing into a lot more of a standardized build. This is kind of pretty standard. There's a few little tweaks that people get to make. So some people run Gemstone Caverns, for example, to accelerate out when you're on the draw. And some people are still playing Skirk Prospectors, but this build decides not to play them, which I think is probably right at the end of the day. So if you're unfamiliar with Goblins, what we're trying to do is generate a lot of fast mana. So, Ancient Tombs and City of Traitors, Chrome Moxes, Simian Spirit Guides, and these feed into casting Name Sticker Goblin. This is the really big one here. So when it comes into play, as long as it's on the battlefield, so you can remove it in response to the trigger and you won't get any mana, but we add 4, 5, or 6 mana at random to our pool. So what we do is we funnel this mana into, ideally, a Muxus, which finds us more things and then just wins the game. Alternatively, Battle Cry Goblin, pump a bunch of mana into this, start swinging, or you know, we can do Rabblемasters or Goblin Ringleaders. We can Matron into finding something else that we need. We have Broadside Bombardiers, which is like the real thing that pushes this deck over the edge, in my opinion. Just giving us a way of removing our opponent's threats, as well as just clocking our opponent incredibly fast. It just kind of does it all, this card. It is really a big addition to the deck. We've got a few other things like Warchiefs, which can reduce the cost of our big top end like Muxus, as well as giving things haste. So, you know, flipping this off of Muxus means you get to attack, and you can kill people as early as turn 1. This build also runs 4 Chalice of the Void. So you normally see Chalice in numbers between 2 and 4 in this deck at the moment. And I think if you're going to play it, you may as well play 4. And it makes sense that we're not running any 1-drops. We have this on turn 1, then we can just kind of go off on turn 2. This will blank things like Swords to Plowshares or whatever from killing our creatures, which is always nice. So we get to swing away. So we're an aggro deck, but we do have staying power because Goblin Ringleader and Muxus are both such big refuels that we can quite often have our first wave answered and then carry on going. So we can play like a combo deck that also settles into just loads and loads and loads of threats from a mid-rangey style deck as the game goes on. But normally we're going to be just really explosive. Sideboard wise, if we need removal, we've got Pyrokinesis and Dead and Gone. We've got some way of disrupting our opponent's mana with Blood Moon. Extra powerful that we can play on turn 1 pretty reliably. Some Null Rods. Yes, this will hurt our own Chrome Moxes, but when we're bringing in, it's going to be excellent against things like 8-cast or the Epic Storm, that sort of jazz. Bit of Graveyard Hate and Unlicensed Hearse and Faerie Macabre. Faerie Macabre is like a nice turn 0 piece of Graveyard Hate, whereas Unlicensed Hearse is really good against the fair deck, so you can just keep chipping away the graveyard so they don't get to use it as a resource. We've got Trashmaster for artifact decks, and we've got 1 Mindbreak Trap for some of the Storm decks that go underneath us. So basically, we are going to be the aggressor in almost all matchups, apart from maybe things like the Epic Storm, the Epic Gamble, the sort of colourless one-ring decks that just kind of draw the whole deck pretty much on turn 2 or whatever. Loads of untapped and all that sort of jazz. So that's mainly, you know, why you can see the tools we've got for that. All right, without further ado, let's just get into it. This deck's an absolute blast to play, so I'm looking forward to giving it another go. Remember to like and subscribe. Once again, congratulations for Darius Brown for going undefeated at the 4SEASONS. Incredibly tough field of excellent players, so really is an achievement. All right, let's go and goblin some people right in the heart. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? We're on the play for round 1. This is pretty good. We have the potential turn 1 if we want it. That's pretty nice. Give this a whirl. Our opponent's mulling into 6 cards. Now the question is, are we actually going for turn 1? Our opponent's mulling into 5. So that suggests to me that our opponent is likely to be doing something a little more broken when they need specific pieces rather than just here's some lands and spells. So, right. Let's cast Name Sticker Goblin. Let's see how much mana we get. It's 6. It's Muxus. Let's see how good this is for us. Another Name Sticker Goblin. Okay. So what do we want here? Do you want just to reload? I think we're just going to reload because we can just play the Bombardiers with our mana that we've got. Alright. Got some friends here. We don't get to play any more spells, but we do get to attack for 2. And we should have our opponent dead next turn. Let's see how good their 5-card hand is. They might scoop rather than showing us anything, or they might just kill us here if they're a broken combo deck. Okay, they didn't show us anything. We don't know what we're doing. This means we're just going to go right back in. They did keep a 5-card hand, which could mean a lot of things. It could be like they're a reanimator. It could be that they are like a storm combo deck. It could just be they got unlucky. I don't think we're supposed to read anything into that and just go in with our sort of optimized game 1 deck list. That is the downside sometimes of winning so quickly. That's a bit of a case of having my diamond shoes too tight in that case, though, because Boo earns, we don't get to know what they had, but, you know, we get to win. So, what does this hand do? So we can make a turn 1 Bombardiers into Ringleader and stuff. Are we looking for something more explosive? So, turn 1 we're pretty close to... Sorry, turn 2 we're pretty close to getting our Muxus into play. Alright, I'm going to keep this. Basic plains, interesting. And a mountain. So that does give us the mana we require. Sorry. So I think we're going to go Chrome Mox here. I'm going to imprint this Ringleader. And we're going to try and just get the ball rolling on this. Does our opponent have a plow? We're not going to throw this Chrome Mox. We're just going to take our damage. So white potential combo decks could be like Painter. They might not be a combo deck. Yeah, okay, so there might be some sort of Bomberman style deck with Aurochs Salvages. Alright, so we play this Cavern of Souls, named Goblin. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So we can... Do you want Chalice for 0 if you think they're Bomberman? Right, I think we're going to attack first. There could be some kind of Painter deck. Mono white Painter. But they need so much mana to actually go off here. Alright, I'm going to play the Chalice for 0 in case they are some sort of Bomberman deck. They've already shown us a Lotus Petal. That'll just stop their combo in its tracks. Ancient Tomb. Okay, so this is Aurochs Salvages mana. Seasoned Dungeoneer. Oh, okay. They're just initiative. That's fine. So initiative is a very good matchup for goblins usually because we're already doing aggressive things. We've got menace creatures. We've got a quicker clock than our opponent most of the time. So, alright. This Chalice, not so good, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think I'd rather play a City of Traitors here. Just save ourselves from life. It can matter. Right, we will put a Muxus into play on turn 3. Let's see what our triggered ability does. Alright. Another Namesticker Goblin is all we got. Which doesn't give us haste with any of our things, but we can cast this now. Because we've got the mana to cast anything we draw anyway. Not going to use this mana. We'll make a guy. Attack with these 2. We will sacrifice one of our Namesticker Goblins to kill their Seasoned Dungeoneer. Bash our opponent for a bunch. And our opponent's almost certainly not coming back from this one. We just have so much stuff in play. Let's just get one of these lovely mountains. Alright, our opponent's had enough. Yeah, so this is the reason you don't see a lot of initiative in the meta right now. It's so bad against goblins that you just kind of get rolled by the superior Ancient Tomb deck a lot of the time. Alright, 1-0. Might be a quick league. We'll see. Let's go to round 2. Alright, our hand for game 2 is kind of a little on the slower side here. We can just sort of... We can like pop out a Rabblemaster early on if that's our jam. So we can just like sort of turn 2 Rabblemaster. Is that good? Is that good enough? I think it's probably fine. And we do have 2 pieces of fast mana. You basically can't keep a hand of goblins without fast mana. Alright, so our opponent is likely to be on Painter. Which means the first land we play is not under threat of Wasteland. So what would I actually like to play here? If we play the Shatterskull Smashing tapped, we lose the ability to use it as removal. But we get that tap land out the way, which might be a big deal. So I'm going to play this tapped. And then we can Rabblemaster next turn if we want to. Or we can Ringleader. Alright. Brayer's Apprentice? Sure. What have we found here? A Battle Cry Goblin. We could just play out the Battle Cry Goblin. And the next turn we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we only need 1 more mana to get to Muxus here. Given their board, I think we're just better off playing this Battle Cry Goblin. Kind of a weird trying to get to Namestick a Goblin if possible into Muxus. But if we can find any of our fast mana for next turn, we can put an uncounterable Muxus on the stack. Now our opponent can have counter spells because they play Painted Servant and Red Blast, which is something to watch out for. Right, there is a Bloodstained Mire. So our opponent probably has Chaos Defilers in their deck. They've got access to other colours. They could also be the white build, but Chaos Defiler is kind of the new hotness right now. 4 mana, is this going to be a 5th mana off of a Spirit Guide? No, it's just a Walking Ballista for 2. Okay, so this is going to be like the Agatha's Soul Cauldron list, which might not even have Painter in, but it still might have Painter in there. We're going to get jabbed at for 1 with this Thopter. Chalice of the Void. That doesn't actually do the thing we require it to do right now. I think we are on Goblin Ringleader time, and just hope next turn is going to be a big one. Just another Ringleader. That's not amazing. We could play the Chalice for 0, but that does shut down a lot of our fast mana, like in the form of Chrome Moxes and stuff. I guess I'm not attacking here. We just got to pass. Because they've just got 2-3. We just run up into that. Yeah, we played a very sort of weird, slow game here. Now, the other option was just to keep jamming a bunch of Rabblmasters down our opponent's throat. Maybe that would have worked out better. Still, hopefully, a fair bit of game to play. Although, well, I guess hopefully we just play Muxus and win next turn, I suppose. But hopefully our opponent's not going to be killing us. Okay, so if our opponent has a Soul Cauldron in hand, we lose the game. That's what it says. Because they put the Phyrexian Devourer in the graveyard. And then just exile it with the Cauldron. And they can make Walking Ballista as large as their library, pretty much. Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. That's a different problem then. Goblin Welder, yep. So we do need to hit that mana this turn and go. That's what you're telling me. Our opponent does have 2 counters saved up on this Walking Ballista they can use to, like, murder our poor little defenseless goblins. Okay. I think our plan here is Matron for Sticker Goblin and hope it does enough. Wait, no, we don't even have the mana for that yet, do we? Yes, I'll use this ability. So, where is our name Sticker Goblin? There it is. So, we've only got 2 mana now. If we attack with these, we can use our Spirit Guide to pump these. Maybe we're supposed to do that first. We get an extra 1-1. But I think our opponent's more likely to make a bad block. But we are kind of under the gun with this Ensnaring Bridge. Our hand is just a little bit slow here. Our opponent's got a lot of mana, so they're probably going to be able to get these cards out of their hand. Okay. Are we forcing through any damage here? I think we're just going to hold back our Simian Spirit Guide. Yeah, I think our opponent is pretty heavily favoured from this point. Now, if they can't empty their hand, we can get them with some 2-2s and then pump them after the fact. That might be okay. It's not just the Ensnaring Bridge. It's also the threat of them killing us at some point as well. We're not playing cards, though. That's something. Chrome Mox. Okay, we might be using that in a minute. We'll find out. Let's go Namestick a Goblin in. So we know they've got this Ensnaring Bridge. How much mana can we get out of this? Opponent's playing an Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, and now they're going to ping this with the Ballista so we don't get the mana off of it. Not fine, but it's the world we're living in. So this won't give us any mana now. I think we play this one out. What are we imprinting? If we imprint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we imprint the Spirit Guide, we can't play Muxus next turn. We already have double Rabblemaster, but double Rabblemaster is very good. Maybe it's the Ringleader here. And then we can go to attacks. So our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. We're making a construct. It's a 4-4. So they're probably going to gobble up the Battle Cry Goblin here. So we're hopefully trying to lock them a little bit under their Ancient Tombs. But I think our opponent is heavily favoured here. Okay, so there's not even any point activating this one. Not a great attack as it turns out. Okay, here comes our Chalice. So next turn we can play a Muxus and hope that it hits a bunch of useful stuff that we can come in and attack with. Like Broadside Bombardiers, being very good here if they have 2 cards in hand, because we can just throw it at our opponent and then just chuck the Muxus at them for lethal. So at any point they have less than... if they have 2 or less cards in, we might just be able to kill them at virtually any point. We're drawing to 4 Bombardiers as well as our Muxus trigger finding them, so... Now if they have the mana, they can put some mana into the Walking Ballista and take out our Bombardiers, which is pretty real. Now, they also haven't got this Ensnaring Bridging plate, right? They've just got some big guys. But they can do the attack with the things. Yeah, so they can attack with stuff and then just have the Ensnaring Bridge for when they want it, using the welder. And then weld it out and attack. Right, so they're probably going to equip up a construct and get a bash in for some life here. But this does mean that Bombardiers is probably live for... Okay, no, they're not doing that. They're just playing the Masters. So this shuts us out of attacking for a turn. Alright. See how much damage you're getting for. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, they're just going in with all of the friends here, including the welder, which means they can't weld in an Ensnaring Bridge. That seems very risky to me. Why wouldn't you want your Ensnaring Bridge? Alright, let's see if Muxus gets the job done, as it often does. Let's see. Wowzers trousers. That's pretty good. That's probably game. Our opponent really should have... Alright, we'll pull these cards in our hand. So there's the haste that we want as well. And a bunch of mana to cast some stuff with. And some more cards. Right, so we can make a Battle Cry Goblin here. Pump our team. Go attacks. Oh, I should stack these other way around so Muxus gets 1 bigger, but it's not going to matter here because we've got the Bombardier, so we can just fling a lethal creature. If our opponent just kept this Goblin Welder back, they could have just put in the bridge, and then we couldn't beat that. But our opponent gave us the win there, so I'll take it. Alright, so our opponent is not really going to want to play against Null Rod. Pyrokinesis is pretty good here too. The Hearse and Faerie Macabres are both interesting, but obviously if we're bringing in Null Rod, we're not going to want the Hearse, so it's probably the Faerie Macabres. I quite like Dead and Gone, I quite like Trashmaster. There's lots of stuff here that I quite like. I'm not a big fan of the Chalice. Like, it can do stuff, but it's not that exciting. So let's put these up here first. So that gives us 4. So what are the 4 best cards here? Probably 2 Null Rods, a Trashmaster, and a Pyrokinesis. Those are probably the best cards. If we're boarding in the Null Rods, are we boarding out the Chrome Moxes? We are going down on mana to do that, but let's see how this goes. So we add in 2 Pyrokinesis for that. This also gets us access to the Faerie Macabres if we want them, and the Dead and Gone if we want that. I think I want the Faerie Macabres here, because the way we get beaten here is if our opponent gets the Ensnaring Bridge and can sit behind it, and then we don't really get to play the game that much. I don't think we want to over sideboard, so I'm probably just going to leave it as is with this. You know, we put in a decent chunk of cards there. Hopefully we won't miss the Chrome Mox too much. Maybe we could trim on a Muxus because we've cut one, but obviously Muxus is pretty good. What does this hand do? It plays a turn 4 Muxus and has a Pyrokinesis. That's not that great. I think we can do better. What does this hand do? It's kind of the same thing, but I'm a bit reluctant to go even lower on cards here. So I think I'll keep this and chuck away a Muxus. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we don't have the Muxus yet, but like our deck is full of creatures. Okay, they've got Tiger as well. That's interesting. Okay, so there is a Goblin Welder. So if our opponent plays a Goblin Engineer, we can kill them both with the Engineer trigger on the stack, and that'd be pretty good. So what is our play for our first turn? Probably an Ancient Tomb. Seems pretty reasonable. Then we have to decide what we're pitching. It'll probably end up being the Simian Spirit guy that gets pitched to the Pyrokinesis here, because then at least we've got some action. Alright, let's see if we find the Engineer here. It gives us a really nice Pyrokinesis. Right, so this resolves, but with the trigger on the stack, we kill them both so they can't weld it in. So they can still get something and put it in their graveyard for later. So it'll probably be Phyrexian Dragon Engine, unless they have some other tools that they can use it alongside it. Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Alright, nothing fair is going to happen with this card. That's for sure. A Null Rod, you say? I will play a Null Rod. Let's play this on Goblin. Play my Null Rod. Well, we've drawn some sideboard cards, and we'll eventually do the thing that we're here to do. So that's good. And our Goblin density is still pretty high. In fact, it's slightly higher than it is in Game 1. Alright. Urza's Saga is a good way of getting around a Null Rod, because you can still commit to the board. Faerie Macabre, again, another great way of doing that. Sure, you don't get to use the treasure tokens, but you get some looting. So, Spirit Guide would be a good draw. Name Sticker Goblin. So this gives us Muxus this turn, right? Because if this hits 4, we play the Ancient Tomb. It's 4, so we play the Ancient Tomb out. Play Muxus. Let's see how good the Muxus is. Like, this is a really bad Muxus, then... Alright, that is not a really bad Muxus. That is a pretty average Muxus, but holy moly, that's a good good follow-up from our little friend there. Alright, our opponent's had enough, and I don't blame them. Yep, 2-0, Goblins doing Goblins things. Our opponent did just give us the win in Game 1 there, though. I think attacking with that Goblin Welder was definitely a mistake. I'll take the win and move on to round 3. Our hand is like a turn 2 play that is okay. I think we can keep it. We're going to get to see another couple of cards before we put our Sticker Goblin into play. And we do have this Cavern of Souls, which can help. So another Sticker Goblin, not too shabby. Okay, so we'll play as Ancient Tomb. I think it's worth putting the Sticker Goblin underneath a Chrome Mox to try and accelerate by 1 turn. Maybe it is. I'm not somebody who's got the most amount of reps with the Goblins deck, so I can't be entirely sure. So we could get Wastelanded here, but that's fine. Alright, Esper. Sure. Or it might be multiple colours. Oh, there's this Doomsday. The One Ring. Okay, that's pretty good. Kind of ruins part of what we've got going on here. So I do think our opponent is playing Esper Doomsday. Okay. What is our plan? Shatterskull Smashing is probably not the plan, is it? Let's play this Chrome Mox. And let's put this Shatterskull Smashing in. I think there's not really any point doing anything here, is there? Just play out this mountain. Not let them know we have a cavern. Then next turn we can try stringing a bunch of stuff together and see if we can reduce our opponent's life total by a hefty amount to make Doomsday an awkward one. Now, they're unlikely to cast Doomsday without being able to win immediately. But they might do a pass to turn line if we've got nothing going on here. They don't know we're Goblins. They probably think we're not because we haven't played anything. But they will need to find 2 more sources of black mana or, you know, a Dark Ritual so they can put the Doomsday on the stack. Brainstorm, good cards are good. And a Ponder to follow that up as well. Alright, so we get a turn, is what you're saying. A Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright. Okay, this is interesting. Let's name Sticker Goblin and see if this gets a reaction from our opponent. We're going to be a force in our future here. So we could have played the Cavern to get this uncountable, but I think the thing we're going to follow up with is more important. Alright, so they got a force there. Sure. So now we'll play this one out on Goblin. Just deploy a little friend here. Like, it's better to actually have the payoff be uncounterable. Then next turn we can try Sticker Goblin again. And if our opponent doesn't interact with it, we can then Ringleader possibly, as well as pumping a load of mana into Battle Cry Goblin. Alright, them tapping the One Ring like that is actually good for us. If they cast Doomsday and then tap the ring, we immediately lose. But they can have follow-up copies of the One Ring, which should obviously jam us up. Oh wow, okay. Are they going here? The chance of them having stuff to kill us here are relatively high. They've got a full grip full of cards over there. There is the Doomsday. I don't believe they can pass the turn here. I don't think that's the correct play. I think if they have a pass the turn line, they'll probably just wait till their next turn and then cast it in their next turn, then activate the One Ring and just win straight up. So I believe this means we're dead. So if they've got any cantrip, they should be fine because they can crack the Lion's Eye Diamond and then have Consider and Thassa's Oracle there, as well as 1 spare mana for whatever they need. So I think they're going to have us. Right, they made a pile. They've also got a fetch land as well, so they can have a land at the bottom of their pile. So they can do an empty pile very easily if they have any cantrip here. Yeah, there's a cantrip, so that should be game. Alright, they're cycling Street Wraith first and cracking this, sure. So they've got 3 mana to work with. So they take one of these 2 cards, or sorry, one of these 4 cards goes into their hand. They can cast a Consider to mill another one. Okay, just Edge of Autumn is fine too. Okay, they just did it with Cyclers. Yeah, it's fine. Alright. Yeah, maybe our hand was not really where it needed to be on that one. So what is the play for us here? So we don't have amazing options in this matchup. Like Chalice does work. Blood Moon is surprisingly good against these decks, especially the 3-color build. So let's get some Blood Moons in. Do we have much time to be messing around with Ringleaders? I think we just want the stuff that's lower to the ground, maybe. So just bring in a couple of Blood Moons. I think like we could bring in Null Rod to deal with the One Ring, or Mindbreak Trap for when they have like a really good turn where they string together a bunch of spells. But I think those are just really niche and marginal, and we're better off just, you know, trying to disrupt their Dark Rituals with the Chalice of the Void, which slows them down for a number of turns usually. And, you know, turns are what we want in this game, because if we get a few of them, then we get to put some big creatures into play. Okay. What do we have here? An unkeepable hand. Let's mulligan. What about this hand? What are we doing? It's just like slow guys, isn't it? There's no fast mana. This one has fast mana, so I guess we keep it. And throw back. Like Ancient Tomb and City of Traitors are kind of the same, unless they're doing like a shouldered line, but I don't think they would do a shouldered line against us. So I guess we get rid of the city and probably just a mountain here and keep as much fast mana as we can. Alright, we'll lead out on this Ancient Tomb, and then we'll try and stick a goblin into Matron and stuff. Finding a Spirit Guide would be quite nice here. That would give us a potential tasty line off of our Matron. A Blood Moon, you say? I don't think that's what we're about this turn. I think we're on Goblin Matron this turn. And this is kind of an interesting one. So we can try and go up into a Muxus if we want to. Like, they will just counterspell the Muxus, but... Well, they might not have the counterspell. But that might allow us to resolve a Blood Moon. So we kind of want them to crack their fetch first, or, you know, not know that they're having to play against the Blood Moon is the thing. Because if we just fire off the Blood Moon, then, you know, they're going to not necessarily cast their Doomsday until the right time or whatever. Alright. So now we're going to see a Doomsday, which is something that we can hopefully beat with what we've got going on here. Would love to find a Simian Spirit Guide. I'd probably take Cavern would probably be okay-ish here. Another Dark Ritual. That's interesting. A Doomsday with 2 black mana floating. That is interesting. Not sure what that means for us. Right, our opponent's just putting their cards into their pile now. Do we get a turn? Alright, there is a Brainstorm, so we should be dead here. I can never work out these Doomsday piles myself. I'm terrible at it. But okay. So any cantrip here, and they've obviously found one on top. Yep, and they crack this in response. And we're just going to get turn 2'd here. Yep, there's the Consider. They draw the final card. It's Thassa's Oracle. We die. Yeah? Turn 2 combo, too good for us. Like, our opponent had the nice play with the One Ring that kind of meant that we didn't really have anything we could be doing. So that was awkward as well. But alas, here we are. So we've taken our first loss. Let's go to round 4. Alright, what does our hand bring to the table here? We've got stuff going on. It's a case of how we deploy it. Do we just smash out a broadside and hope that we draw some more red mana after that? I think I'm down. I don't think we want to spend 2 Spirit Guides for 1 spell, so we're not going to be doing like a Goblin Warchief here or a Ringleader. But we can go like Tomb into broadside and start smashing. And then hopefully we can draw another mana source and put some other stuff into play. And if we don't draw another mana source, we're probably going to draw another thing we can cast off of Ancient Tomb and our second Spirit Guide. Our opponent's gone to 5 cards. Just get in for 2 damage. And this kind of puts our opponent in an interesting spot in terms of playing out creatures to the board, if that's what their deck does, because they might just be under threat immediately. Bloodstained Mire, we're just going to get reanimated on. Cast a Dark Ritual here, that's probably going to be bad for us. The Goblin Welder, okay, so back to this. Okay. Mana source, please. Cavern of Souls, that's a pretty good one. Play this, we'll put it on Goblin. So what are we actually casting here? I think it's probably the Ringleader. Let's draw some cards. I will throw this after damage at the Welder because this represents a lot of scary things. Rabblemaster and a Muxus. Rabblemaster is excellent here because that just gives you a constant stream of things to throw at their creatures. I don't believe our opponent's going to block here. I'll trade that off there. Next time we can play the Rabblemaster, and then we can shock any creature that comes into play with the token. And if things get really bad, we can obviously fire the Rabblemaster at something. Urza Saga from our opponents. Makes sense. Their screen name is Urza Enjoyer. You can see here, Painter's Servant. So this is the one that we don't get to shock, which is pretty important. An Ancient Tomb. That doesn't actually help us here, does it? Like, it can be useful for next turn. Right, let's go to attacks. We make a 1-1 here. We have to attack with both of these. And then I will just be clearing their board out using our Rabblemaster here. The way this game goes wrong is if they get to keep a Painter's Servant around and just smash us with the combo. Like, we can just keep removing their things. We will need to find a mana source or a creature next time, but our deck is basically full of those two things. So, I believe. And we still got another shock saved up with this Goblin token. But if we find a red mana source, then we just dump a Muxus into play and it's game over. Raucous Theatre. This is the first time I've seen the red-black one. Obviously, all of these Surveil lands are good. Come on, deck. Let's find something to mess our opponent up with. A Chrome Mox. That'll do. I will imprint this Goblin Warchief. I think the time has come for this. Okay, they've seen that we have 6 mana here and know what's coming. Okay, so what did we do last time? We boarded in some Null Rods and some Pyrokinesis and some Trashmaster and maybe some Faerie Macabres, wasn't it? Something along these lines. We said no to the Chalice and no to the Chrome Mox. And that's exactly 60. So that sounds about right to me. Let's just jam in. We only have 1 red source. But we get to draw some cards before that matters. Right, there's a pretty good red source. Here is the Null Rod. The next turn we can deploy a Bombardiers. And just start doing that whole thing. Raucous Theatre from our opponent. So there's the Saga not coming down this turn is pretty good. They've left 1 card on top of their library, which means they probably have an answer to something that we're trying to put down. I'm going to Goblin for this. And here is the question. So Lightning Bolt is quite likely to come off of this. So I'm just going to play a thing that doesn't care about Lightning Bolt. We're just going to play this Matron and go and get ourselves a Sticker Goblin. So if our opponent taps out of red, then we can do our Sticker Goblin. Otherwise, we can play some sort of less high priority things to resolve. Okay, 3 mana is going to be Fable. Yep, sure. So we get to sort of unmolested Sticker Goblin turn now, which is usually pretty gross. That's pretty gross too. So 1, 2, and a red. Let's see how much mana this gives us. There is a question as to whether or not we're supposed to play the Muxus here. So we've got 5 mana. So we have 6 mana. So we could play Bombardiers. So we can play Warchief, and then Bombardiers is only 2, and that leaves us leaving this back in hand. We could just play the Muxus here and just swing for the fences. You came here to watch me put Muxus into play, so let's do that. Wowzers, trousers. And we got the Trashmaster as well. Wowzers, trousers. Okay, so we will cast this Battle Cry Goblin. We will activate Battle Cry Goblin once. We'll activate it again, and we're probably going to swing for somewhere in the region of about 60 damage. Or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. Pretty bananas. So, yeah, that's what Goblins does. 4 rounds in already. This has been a very quick league. Alright, let's go to the final round and see if we can get that 4-1. What does our hand do here? Very all in on our first play. So we can do Chrome Mox, Picture Spirit Guide, Shatterskull, deploy a Battle Cry Goblin. Is that good? It's fine. I think we can keep that. Now we have a lot of fast mana that we can draw in our deck. Let's get some pressure going. Ketra Triome, sure. Okay, that's not an unhelpful card to have. Let's play a Chrome Mox. Put this. Let's play this. Pay 3 life. Just make a little goblin. So if we draw another Simian Spirit Guide, we can try and put the Muxus on the stack. Up the beanstalk, sure. So some kind of 5-color beanstalk control deck, I would imagine. An Ancient Tomb. Let's play this. Which is good enough for a Force of Will. There it is. So we could pump this just to deal 1 extra damage. I don't think that's worth it. Hopefully they won't have the removal spell for the Muxus we're about to throw at them. But the fact that they did that Force of Will makes me think they probably have another follow-up. A Leyline Binding. Sure. Draw some more cards. We're going to say goodbye to your friend of mine, a Battle Cry Goblin. I would love to draw... Oh no, we're going to lose the Chrome Mox. That's interesting. Okay. I would love to draw... Well, I would have loved to have drawn Cavern of Souls, but... Okay. 2, 4, 5, 6. Put the big boy in. You got Force of Will over there? Oh, they did not. Wowzers trousers. Look at that value. Alright, our opponent's off it. I do not blame them. So, what is good in this matchup? The Blood Moons. Do we want anything else in this matchup? Not really. So, how are we fitting in these Blood Moons? Like, we want the things like the Ringleader, because we might need to grind through a little bit of our opponent's stuff here. The Matron is fine. Maybe it's the Warchief. That's kind of the weakest individual card, I think, here. Just ram a couple of Blood Moons, I think. I don't think I can entertain this hand, so let's mulligan it. How is this hand? We make some guys. You do a Chalice on one. I guess we keep this one and throw back a Battle Cry Goblin. It's fine. It's got a Leyline in the Guild Pact. What are we going to get rid of here? It's probably Muxus. Well, that's a much later thing. Who's on the play now? So our opponent's on the Leyline in the Guild Pact build, which means they've probably got Scions of Draco. So they can be putting a 2/2 Vigilance lifelink guy into play super early on. Which means we're going to need something big to go over the top. Let's get this down. Just shut off cantrips and Swords to Plowshares while we're at it. Alright. They thought about that for a second, but then just was like, nah, that's fine. So they're probably just going to play the Scion here. No? Okay. A land? We did not find a land. Alright, let's play a weedy little goblin and pass. A Leyline Binding. I'm going to take out the Chalice here. Yeah. So unlock their cantrips and their plows. You can see end of turn Brainstorm. There is the Scion of Draco. This has First Strike, Hexproof, Lifelink, Trample, Vigilance. That's quite a lot of stuff. Now we can definitely deliver much more damage than they can handle, but we need to get Muxus to do that for the most part. The Vigilance here is especially awkward. Alright, we did not hit a playable spell or a land to cast our spells off of. So we're probably going to die in almost... Well, I reckon we're going to die in exactly 5 turns unless our opponent deploys another Scion. But we got nothing going on here. Well, they got Triumph of St. Catherine as well. Like, we can still beat this with the power of Muxus. But we're going to have to resolve the Muxus to do that. You carry on, opponent. I'd be very surprised if they didn't just miracle this and play it. Yeah, there you go. Because you can reveal it and not play it still. But alright, so we're going to take 4. Opponent's going to gain 4. We're going to tap. We have a spell we can't cast. I think we're probably done here. Yeah, the hand just didn't really come together there. Alright, let's do a little bit better. I think our sideboarding here is fine. I don't think we have to worry about what they've got going on. We could bring in a Trashmaster for the signs. We only care about the signs if they have the the ley line, and we can't really interact with the ley line anyway. So let's just submit. Alright, let's see what our opening hand looks like. We can start throwing Rabblемasters at our opponent. Is that good? Like, it's not terrible. They're just good cards. But they're quite easy to clean up. I think this is fine though. On Tomb here. Because that way if we draw the Cavern, it becomes a lot better. Would love to draw a Cavern. Come on, deck. One time. Give me the goods. That's not... It's fine. You know, we can probably use that mana down the line. They don't have Plow mana up. Alright, they got Hydroblast, sure. So that would be pretty good even if we had the Cavern, so... Because they just blow it up before it makes a token. You see a Beanstalk here. Tropical Island, Scrubland. What a mana base. A Goblin Ringleader. Is that better for us than playing out this Rabblemaster? If we can play this and use a Spirit Guide to deploy the Battle Cry Goblin. They might have sandbagged before so they can do the Beanstalk here. Yep, okay. Understood. So hopefully what's going to happen is we're going to trade a bunch of resources and eventually we're just going to stick a Muxus and win the game, a bit like we did in game 1. Right, we can use our mana effectively here. I say effectively, we're making a Grizzly Bear. Right. They've got a Sign of Draco here. It is just a 4/4. They don't have the ley line, but they might have the ley line in their hand for next turn. So this could become quite problematic for us. It's a good turn to resolve a Blood Moon. We could just try and cast a Muxus here. Our opponent has exhausted one counterspell. Goodbye, City of Traitors. Were you a good city? You did some work. Alright. Have they got one of their other forces? They do. Okay, that's probably the game then. Yuck. They deploy a ley line here, then that's going to be a tough sell. Because obviously playing this Rabblemaster becomes a problem because it makes our creatures all attack. So we kind of have to be careful with how we're doing things. Alright, so we're not going to get leyline this turn. So if they attack, their creature will be tapped so we can force through some damage. Possibly a fair bit if we draw another land and we can Rabblemaster and then pump the Battle Cry Goblin mana. That could be pretty good. We get a large crack in there, probably half our opponent's life total, something like that. More than that actually, probably put them to 5-ish. 10, I don't know, we'll see. Right, they've got some white mana though. I doubt they're attacking with this. Oh, they are attacking. That's interesting. They definitely have got like at least one removal spell in hand then. That makes sense here. Goblin Bombardiers. Alright, I think we're going to play this one out first. We're going to 5 here, so... A Leyline Binding. That's not gaining us any life either. So our Ancient Tomb is going to be switched off. But this way we at least have the option of drawing the land for the Bombardiers next turn. Whereas they clearly had a piece of removal at least over there. It feels like we're going to come undone this one. Right, we go to 1. Ancient Tomb no longer does anything. Chalice of the Void. You are no good here. Alright. We unfortunately lost that one, taking our final record to a 3-2, which is fine. But I think that's the worst result I've had with Goblins the few times I've played it. The format is definitely adjusting to Goblins, making it so it's not just rolling over everybody straight away like it did when it first came to the scene. But I don't think we can be upset about losing the Doomsday deck that just turned 2 to us. Like, they had a turn 2 ring, and then they had the full-on turn 2 kill us. So not really much we can do about that one. And that last one, sometimes the control deck, you know, has to try and find its pieces or whatever. And sometimes we'll have a Cavern and we get to ignore some of their stuff or whatever. But, you know, we had to play the cards we had and it wasn't quite good enough. I don't think we're supposed to mulligan specifically for Cavern because they're going to have a hand that has a removal spell in. So if we end up mulliganing low and we're just sort of relying on one thing, that's not usually going to be good enough. But I think against the 5 colour, you're probably still odds on with Goblins, I would say, most of the time. It just depends how deep their sideboard goes. Anyway, let's talk about the deck. So Goblins is very much a known entity, and there's not the most amount of flex that you can do in this deck because you need all your core components. We did get the Gemstone Caverns off one time. Honestly, it didn't feel that impressive to me, but in some matchups it will feel more impressive. I think I'm a little bit worried about drawing this later on and just having a colourless mana source when, you know, we felt a little bit light on the ground with red sources sometimes. So I'd be tempted to have like just another mountain or possibly something like a Sekenzan or just another Shatterskull Smashing would be reasonable as well, because that can also pitch to Chrome Moxes and be some interaction when we need it. But obviously this list is totally fine. If you get a little bit more reps in with like the hands you can keep and the percentages, you get a little thing like the deck isn't always the most complicated thing in the world to play, but your mulligan decisions are important. How you're sideboarding is very important. Your sequencing of threats and things, you know, it's classic stompy Magic where you have fewer decisions than like a blue deck, but your decisions are condensed and more important. The Chalice in the main is fine. I think I kind of preferred the builds I played where they just had the addition of more goblins and just like more pressure, because I think what our game plan is you know, very strong. We just want to make a bunch of goblins, turn sideways, our opponent dies. Interacting with the Chalice is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I didn't feel super amazing. People are just so prepared for Chalice. It's not the card it once was. I'm not sure what you could run in that slot. Just, you know, some more goblins maybe. Sort of go up on some of your numbers. Get a 4th Rabblemaster in there would be quite nice to begin with. And just sort of adjust things that way. The sideboard felt like all the sort of tools that we really want. You know, we've got removal. We've got, you know, artifact hate. That was obviously very good when it came up. The Blood Moons would have been excellent in that last matchup. We just didn't have them. Wouldn't mind having some more Blood Moons, to be honest. It feels like quite a powerful thing to do. I think you could even think about running Blood Moon in the main, perhaps. Like, it will shut off some of your fast mana. Whereas, obviously, you don't necessarily want to do that. But there are some matchups where it's just so backbreaking. But maybe just having a 3rd Blood Moon in the board. I don't necessarily know we need a Mindbreak Trap on top of some of our other tools. Like, is one Mindbreak Trap going to be better than having a 3rd Blood Moon and just having a more reliable impact on those matchups where they can just string together, like, you know, 12 to 16 removal spells at you, if you can stop their mana base and that doesn't happen. So maybe that's something to think about. But yeah, Goblins is a really fun deck to play. Who doesn't love turning Goblins sideways? It's very much Magic as it was intended to be played. Maybe not so much with stickers and Muxus and type stuff. We've come a long way since the old days, but nevertheless, this deck is an absolute blast to play. It's quite quick to smash through leagues, so if you don't have a lot of time, it's well worth doing. And, you know, tools like Broadside Bombardiers are just so good at controlling the board. It really is fantastic. All right, not much more to say about this one, other than another congratulations to Darius Brown for your undefeated streak at the 4SEASONS tournament. Very impressive record. It is one of the toughest legacy tournaments you'll play, so it is a real achievement. And with that, why not like and subscribe to my channel if you're still here? And goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel. A mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.